Welcome to Flavour Text, a podcast where we examine the intersection between lore, story, and gameplay in Arkham Horror the card game, scenario by scenario. I'm CrabbyTerror8, and I'm joined, as per usual, by my Eonic colleague, Kevling. Hello, Kevling. How are you?
You're trying to say I'm very old.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Well, when I've got teenage kids, and I feel very Eonic every day.
Yes.
They're very fond of reminding me.
But yeah, well, mine are both in the 20s, so that's how old I feel. Yes.
So, what have you been up to, Kevling, recently? What's been going on in your world?
Our local game store had an Arkham Knights event, and we did War of the Outer Gods.
Yes.
And it went right down to the wire with three of the 4 tables completing sealing the gate, and the last table with 10 minutes to go still had 10 clues to find.
Yep.
So all 3 tables were all frantically gaining extra clues and sending them over. And we were able to do it with just like seconds to spare. It was brilliant.
Wow, that's great. What a great way to finish. That's awesome.
Yes, it was excellent. And then other games-wise, I've not played any Arkham at home other than with you preparing for this.
Yes.
Games. Oh, I had a Kickstarter turn up either only yesterday or Friday, actually.
Oh, nice.
It's the new one, 20 Strong by Chip Theory Games. It's a solo-only game. It's just a dice and card game that you can play in about 30-40 minutes. And every game uses the same set of dice, but then you have different sets of cards for that are effectively different games. A bit like Final Girl, really, in that you've got your core components and then different games to play using the same components and base rules. And no, I've only played the Solar Sentinels, which is the one that comes in the core box.
Yep.
There's also a Too Many Bones deck and a Hoplomachus Victorum. I probably butchered that pronunciation. But 2 of the other Chip Theory IPs, they've done decks of cards for in the same game. So, yeah, not played those 2 yet, but I played the first one. Very good. Enjoyed it.
Yep.
Won the first game, lost the second game. So,
there you go.
a bit of beginner's luck, and then my normal luck resumes. But I think that's about it, games-wise. I finished Baldur's Gate on the PS5.
Yeah, I noticed when I was playing on the PS5, I noticed you were playing that quite a lot.
Yes, well, my save game says I'd played it for just over 80 hours when the credits rolled. The PS5 menu says 105, so I guess that's with all the deaths and reloads and things.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, absolutely amazing game. I do feel like I did do a bit of a cop-out in the final mission. I'll word this carefully for spoilers, but a certain companion of yours does have the ability to explode. So he offered to sacrifice himself instead of you having to go in and do the final fight. So I said, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All that happened was that you got the normal end credits and all the final things, and occasionally someone go, "Oh, sorry about that. Same about so and so, isn't it?" Yeah. But yes, I did attempt it once and died, and then I attempted it second time and it crashed. So when I went to go in the third time, I thought, you know what, let's just see what happens if I take the easy route. And it was absolutely fine.
Yeah. Sounds like the Devourer Below ending, that one.
Yes. Yeah, just through Lita and yeah.
Oops, spoilers.
Yes.
Awesome. Wow. There you go.
Yeah. And what about you? What have you been up to?
Blob that ate everything. Did I talk about that last time? I don't think so. No. So we had
I think that was your Arkham Knights event, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah. And it was the biggest turnout in Sydney, I think, ever. I think there was close to 60 people turned up. So we had people from Melbourne. Everyone on my table was from Melbourne. We had people from, different parts of Australia. It was brilliant. We had a great time playing that. I can't say it went down to the wire. So it was a pretty easy victory against the Blob, but very, very, just fantastically enjoyable. I think our table, we use more, what are they called? There's that special things you can use. There's only so many. You start with about 20 of them. Yeah. But, you're only supposed to use them sparingly. Not us. No, we were using them like crazy. we used the most, I think, and generated the least or something. Oh, just being strategic. But yeah, so but yeah, I played Charlie Kane for that, and it was interesting. Charlie ended up being the key fighter, which was unexpected, taking down blobs left, right, and center. So a bit of a Rambo was Charlie Kane, which was not what I expected when I put his deck together. But yeah, so I really like Charlie a lot. I think he's a great investigator.
I've not played Charlie. No.
Just surround yourself with allies. They do all the work. And if you've got enough allies on, every time you tap one, you get extra to your skill tests, so you can pass.
So you build up your allies to match all the skills that you need.
Yeah. You start with 3 extra ally slots, and I had 2 charisma, so I had allies for days.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that was great. And the usual thing, Dream Eaters, we're just working our way through that. We finished the A side, I think. So we've just got to finish the B side now. Apart from that, Prey. I'm trying to platinum Prey. I played through the whole thing, and I'm playing through it again. So I'm really, really, really enjoying that one. So yeah, it's fantastic. So, and I really want to play Alan Wake 2 as well. So there's some good stuff, and Baldur's Gate. So yeah, yes. Not enough time. Too many games,
Yeah. Well, if you've got a spare 100 hours, then Baldur's Gate's for you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe I think they're bringing out a deluxe edition or some kind of.
Yeah, because it's not been out physically yet. It's only been available digitally up until now.
Right. Wow.
So yes, they're bringing out this fancy deluxe physical edition at the same time as it going over to Xbox, I think.
Yes. So maybe over the Christmas break I might get onto that. So we shall see. Anyway, so here we are with Shattered Eons. So where have we gotten to, Kevling, in terms of this epic, truly epic campaign?
Well, it has been epic, hasn't it? So we just did Depths of Yoth, didn't we?
That's right.
We did Depths of Yoth. We were going as deep as we can until we found the Nexus. Mm-hmm. And then we step through the Nexus, and this is what awaits us. Yeah,
this is the end game here. The stakes are very high, as we shall see.
Yes, but there's an interlude just before the scenario starts, isn't there? Basically, you either, if you're forging your own path and you've got the relic, you get the upgraded version of the relic, the repossess the past version, and then the other thing is whether you had torches or not, you were lighting the braziers, which affects the start of this one, doesn't it?
Yes, that's right. So we are deep underground in Nkai, and close to the Nexus now, where it's all going to go down. This is the gunfight at the OK Corral. This is the X-wing fighters flying into the Death Star. This is it. This is the ultimate final showdown. So yeah, hopefully we don't need a bigger boat. That's the main thing. So yeah, shall we read out these intros, Kevling?
Yeah, so first check is if the braziers are lit, we read intro 1. So the silver blue flames that have guided you through these passages are the only vestige of hope you have remaining. One by one, the braziers lead you onward. Someone or something placed these devices here. The technology is not unlike what you've seen in the caverns of Kunyan or the Etzli ruins where the relic was first found. However, it seems whoever ventured this deep below the crust of the earth must have turned and fled, for the final brazier has been toppled and broken, and you see no more of them ahead. Thankfully, you do not need to travel in the darkness for very long. Within minutes, you come upon a huge stone doorway, no doubt the entrance to the Nexus.
It's probably got a big neon sign. Nexus
this way.
Yes. Now, if the braziers remain unlit, then you read out intro 2, which is, since you possess no light to guide you, you have spent every waking moment with part of your body pressed against the cavern wall, using the cold stone to navigate without losing course. As you travel, your fingers find warm, smooth grooves along the wall, the same dormant technology that existed in the Etzli ruins. You are clearly not the first to enter this abyssal place. However, whoever came here before you must have fled before their work was done, since the channels did not light to guide your way, or glare with anger as you approached. Hours pass as you make your way gradually in the dark until finally you come upon a huge stone doorway. no doubt the entrance to the Nexus. And it says each investigator begins this chapter with 2 fewer cards in his or her opening hand. Proceed to intro 3. So there's a bit of a penalty if the braziers aren't lit.
Yeah, I think that's the final penalty, isn't it, from your choice of supplies at the start or the mid-supply point?
Yes.
It lingers all the way to the
way
final
through.
scenario.
Yes.
You'd be cursing your decisions every single time. So, whichever of those 2 we read, we then move on to intro 3. Your hand traces over the lines carved in the doorway, an inscription, a warning to turn back, for to open this passage is to invite doom. It is too dark to recognise the language, but you know it is not one spoken by humanity in this day and age. You have no idea how you can understand the engraving. Perhaps some last remnant of memory from your time in Nikotus, lost city of the Eons? Or perhaps you are truly mad, discerning meaning from natural indentations in the stone wall. After all, it has been almost a week since you've seen natural light. So then, if we found the relic, we go to intro 4, otherwise we go to intro 5.
Yep. So if we have found the missing relic, we get the stone doorway is sealed shut when you arrive, but as soon as you approach, the artifact begins to shake and hum loudly. Grooves along the door flicker alight with a shimmering glow, and suddenly the door shifts open of its own accord. You grip the artifact tightly and enter. And then you skip to setup.
And then if you didn't have the relic, intro 5 is the stone doorway is already open when you arrive. Grooves along the door are lit with a shimmering glow. The Brotherhood must already be here. You've arrived with only moments to spare.
Yes, so the Brotherhood are already here. Dun, 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 dun. Yes.
And we have a slight adjustment to our encounter decks, don't we, depending on whether we've got more cultists than tablets in the bag or the other way around. Whereas it's actually worse if you've got an equal number, because you get to add 2 lots of extra encounters to the deck. So it's like we either have the cultists or the serpent decks against us, or we have both against us.
And we actually, sometimes in these scenarios you think, oh, well, we've got to find the Nexus, that's going to be the key thing. But no, in this case, it's there. Where we start at the Nexus. That's just the starting
Nexus
point.
Into play, and that is where we are,
Yes. And then there's various kind of spoilery setups and things it tells you to do. And then there's a small exploration deck, which is made up of 3 single-sided locations with some encounter cards as well. So it's using this, which I haven't really used since. I don't know why. It's quite good, this idea of exploration. So there's an exploration deck even for this scenario.
I think received relatively negatively, if I remember right, and that's why it was tweaked somewhat in the return to, but I guess we'll cover that next time.
Yeah.
But yes, it's literally 3 locations and 3 encounter cards, so it's, at the beginning it's a 50-50 chance of pulling out a location, successfully exploring.
Yep.
And then also, for every 10 tally marks under Yik's Fury, we put one of the lead investigators' cards in the victory display to act as an extra vengeance.
Yes.
So, we had a few up there, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
That's what you get for blowing the temple up,
Yeah. And it's, astonishingly short, really, for the setup and text and everything. Not like these days where it's 3 pages of organisation. It's relatively short, which is nice.
Yeah, I think one of the things that they've done in this scenario, isn't it, is tie up a lot of the decisions you've made in the chaos token bag. Chaos tokens that are in the bag. So if you've been tending to side with each attacker, you've got more cultist tokens, or if with Alejandro, you've got more tablet tokens. So it uses that as a tracker almost, rather than all of the individual statements of have you done this, have you done that.
Yeah,
it's quite a nice way of doing it.
Yes, and I noticed here that so the skulls are -2, but the cultists are -2 if you do not succeed by at least 1 place of doom on a cultist enemy. So that's sort of giving them an advantage. And the tablet token is you automatically fail if you're poisoned. So,
so thematically fitting in with the reasons you'd have those tokens as well.
Yes, excellent. So here we are at the Nexus of Nkai, which is a great big hole in the ground, basically, looking at the picture. And So that's where we start. So there's just one location at the beginning, so but it's one hell of a location.
Yes. So shall we start with the act and agenda?
Yes. Let's start with those. The agenda's going to be fairly straightforward in the sense that it's a classic just progression to an end. The act is where the real action is going to be happening as we go through. So maybe we'll read them out, and then maybe every so often we'll go back to the agenda and where we think it would be turning over. But there's not a lot of super exciting stuff happening with the agenda compared to the act. So, yeah, absolutely. You want to read out one of them, Kevling?
Yeah, Agenda 1A, Threads of Time. As you enter the grand chamber beyond the doorway, the nexus stirs, the earth quakes below you, and the wall chips and crumbles. Shards of stone float in midair above the nexus. You are running out of time. Reality is starting to shatter all around you. So there's a forced effect. If an investigator with the Relic of Ages in his or her hand, deck, discard pile, or play area is eliminated, immediately advance to Agenda 3B. So 3B basically is the end, isn't it? Yeah.
It's all over.
Yes, I guess narratively we are bringing the relic to the Nexus for some purpose.
Yep.
And obviously if we die, well, we failed.
Yeah.
No one else can pick it up and carry on or whatever. No. So, yeah, that's it.
No. And do you get the feeling that the Brotherhood, like it's chipping away, and so they must be doing something, even if we've got the relic, there must be something going on? Or is it just the fact that we've brought the relic here is causing these effects? I guess it's a little bit unclear. Clearly, some bad stuff's happening, and it's to do with time. So time's unraveling, essentially, which is never good. Never good when time unravels.
No. Try and avoid it if at all possible.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Act 1A is Worlds Beyond. The energies of the Nexus swirl in the ground below you, beckoning you to enter. Whether it's a thing of science or magic, you don't know. It's a gateway of sorts, that much you can tell, but a gateway to where? And it says forced. When an enemy would spawn at an empty location and there are no empty locations in play, reveal cards from the exploration deck until a location is revealed. Put that location into play and spawn that enemy there. Shuffle the exploration deck. I guess that's just to make sure that enemies don't end up getting...
You certainly don't want to make sure we have an easy ride, no.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh,
you thought you weren't going to get that enemy? No, you are.
Yes, exactly. Not a big threshold, like it's 6 doom for the agenda, and this is only 2 clues per investigator, so you're going to do this relatively quick. I mean, it's only 2 clues per investigator, which is a fairly low threshold to get going on. So it's this classic thing of, searching around and working out what to do. In a couple of turns, usually, you should have 4 clues, so at least 3 turns anyway. So, shall we go through the locations in the initial exploration deck, and then we can kind of proceed on the acts? You want to kick us off?
So, Nexus of N.K., Unraveling the Threads. And, it's quite a foreboding piece of art. We were trying to work out what it meant, weren't we, when we were looking at it? But you can sort of make out some steps going down to it, almost like a sunken pool. So it's 4 shroud, 1 clue per investigator, and there's forced effect. After you move from the Nexus to another world location, or vice versa, you take a horror for each clue on that other world location. And we fell foul of that, didn't we? Yes. And then as an action, you can take an Explore action to draw the top card of the exploration deck, and if it's connecting, put it into play and move to it. And you don't take horror from the above forced ability when you move via that effect. So you can explore and move safely, but you can't move freely if there are clues on the other locations. Well, you can move, but you have to take the horror.
Yeah, which I guess the idea that you could moving between these very different places is quite disorientating and sort of mind-shattering in a way, because they're all... So unless you've kind of spent enough time working out what to do, you're going to take some... It's going to have some impact on you.
We didn't read the unrevealed side because obviously we started there, didn't we?
That's right. Yes, exactly. And funnily enough, it doesn't have a locked side either. It's just, Yeah,
so unrevealed side. At the centre of the chamber lies the Nexus, a bottomless pit in the earth, ringed by futuristic machinery, no doubt built by those who came before humanity. Inside this pit is a swirling soup of eldritch energy, glowing strands of ethereal light that ripple, fold and weave among one another. As you approach, a fragment of stone chips from the brim and falls into the portal, vanishing from existence.
There we go. So it really does take us to all kinds of places. It's not just sort of local. They're like completely separate places in space and time that it takes us to. I'll just choose one of them, which is Yuggoth, which I think Yuggoth is on another planet, right? Yuggoth is somewhere in the universe. It's not even on Earth. And it's a 2-shroud. There are 3 clues here. It's got an action, flip a clue on Yuggoth to its doom side to draw a card. Be a brave person who does that. But it is a strange dark orb at the very rim of our solar system, unknown to earthly astronomers as yet. H.P. Lovecraft, The Whisper in Darkness. There you go. Yeah, so Yuggoth is like Pluto. It's sort of out. Actually, I don't know if Pluto had been discovered when H.P. Lovecraft was around, so he sort of was imagining this sort of dark planet that no one had found yet on the edge of the solar system, and that's Yuggoth. There we go.
So the next one I've got is City of the Unseen. 4-shroud, 1 fixed number of clues. And forced after 1 or more doom is placed on a cultist enemy at the City of the Unseen, place an additional doom on that enemy. The flavour text is, there are secrets in the cosmos better left unknown, but once your eyes are open, you will truly see, with a capital E on eyes and a capital S on C, to add a little bit of extra emphasis.
And then the other one is the Shores of Relay, which, would be well known to most people. Gets a +1 shroud for each doom on each card in the Shores of Relay, including itself. It's a 1-shroud, 2-clue per investigator location. Forced, after the Shores of Relay enters play, place a doom on it. So it's going to start racking up a bit of doom if you're not careful. The Great Stone City Relay, with its monoliths and sepulchres, sunk beneath the waves. And that's from the Call of Cthulhu. So there we go. So we've got some very, very disparate locations, like under the sea, edge of the solar system, and some other place we don't know, some nameless city. So, I think it's giving the idea that the Nexus just can take you to these far-flung places, anywhere in space and time, basically. So, yeah.
Gameplay-wise, it's interesting that all 3 of those locations are a fixed number of clues, irrespective of how many players there are.
Yep.
So there's always going to be 6 clues out there that are discoverable, but one of them is at a 4-shroud location, and 1 per investigator at the Nexus at another 4-shroud location. So if you're in a party of 4 and you're not great at the old investigating, it might be a bit difficult to get all 8 clues that you need.
Yes, and the other thing is that it's not so easy to just shift back and forth between places, because if there's any clues on a location, if you try and move away while there's still clues on there, you're going to take horror.
Yeah, horror for every clue. So if you...
Yes.
At least the higher numbers are on the lower shrouds.
Yes.
But yes, if you go, I'm no good at investigating here at the Nexus, I'll go and explore.
Yes.
And you find yourself at City of the Unseen, which is an equally high shroud.
Yeah.
And you think, there's no way I'm going to get this. You've got no choice but to take the horror and get back again.
Yeah, I think I can see, and we had a bit of this, but I can see that it could really wrong foot some teams because, for example, Roland decides to explore. Roland ends up somewhere where they can't necessarily, get clues so well, but then something else spawns somewhere else and Roland needs to be there to fight, but then they're off somewhere else with clues, and it's this case of then can Roland take horror to get back, and so we found a bit of that we found ourselves getting isolated a little bit because we didn't want to be taking horror. And particularly at the beginning of the scenario, you don't know how much horror you're going to take, so you don't want to start racking it up too early. So it does a good job of kind of giving you this idea that it's not easy to sort of move around these locations. There are, and it's easy to get separated from the rest of the party.
It almost encourages you to be separated, doesn't it? Because if you go to location A,
yes,
I have to take horror to follow you.
Yes. Oh, yes,
it
works both ways.
Unless I explore and go elsewhere.
Yeah, you're right. So it's quite a clever mechanic for sort of separating everybody out. And we found that. We found ourselves very separate without,
we did, didn't we?
Without really kind of wanting to be, but we ended up that way. That's the little taster at the beginning. So hopefully most parties, by scenario 8, most parties would be pretty well equipped with lots of high-level cards. So you'd think they should be able to get the clues too badly in 2 or 3 turns, you'd think.
It's just if, like we say, if you fall victim to being split up, and you're split up the wrong way round, in that your clue person is at the low shroud location and your fighter's at the high shroud, it can be difficult. Yeah,
exactly. But assuming that you're 2 or 3 turns in and there's 2 or 3 doom on the agenda, but you should be able to flip Worlds Beyond before, you would think, the first agenda in most cases. I mean, we're not the best players in the world, and we managed to kind of get ahead of things.
Even we did.
Yeah, even we managed to get ahead without too much problem.
So shall I flip the act?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
We'll see what happens? And it's one of these beautiful landscape, almost full art cards, isn't it? I love these.
Yeah.
And it just says, return to another time. Each time you step through the Nexus, you get one step closer to your ultimate destination, a place that exists outside the boundaries of time and space. Shuffle the set aside a pocket in time location into the exploration deck. So there we have another location to explore.
Yep.
And yeah, I love those landscape pieces of art like that. It's an amazing looking card. Yes,
a little bit surprised Ubisoft hasn't sort of called out copyright on that. It looks a bit Assassin's Creed to me, but anyway. But yeah, no, it's a very striking image, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah.
It really is. Just get this idea of just everything crackling with eldritch energy, and time and space have been completely eliminated.
Definitely. Yeah. And then obviously that will then trigger Act 2A, Search for the Brotherhood. Somewhere deep within this nexus of worlds lies your objective. A place where timelines converge. You can see it in flashes of insight from beyond this reality. Windows into other timelines, which I guess is that piece of art there, isn't it? That we've just revealed. A place carved out of time and space where the Brotherhood no doubt resides. Objective, if an investigator enters a pocket in time, advance. This could happen quite quickly depending on how many of those locations you had to get out to get the requisite number of clues. If you've got all 3 of them out, there's only one more location to find in that deck, and you've probably weeded the treacheries out by this point as well.
Exactly. So yes, yeah.
I think we triggered it almost immediately, didn't we?
We did. Yeah. It was really quick. And the pocket in time is a extra dimensional location. It sort of looks like a wing of Hogwarts or something, doesn't it? Really, it's
every archway having a different
time period. That's right. There's like a pyramid there and something vaguely medieval. It's giving that idea that there's sort of, you can walk down a corridor and there's literally that. It's got 1 clue per investigator. It's got a victory 1 point, 5 shroud though. So force, after you move it from a pocket in time to a shattered location or vice versa, take 1 damage for each clue on that shattered location. So this is not horror but damage. And it's got the classic explore, draw the top card of the exploration deck. If it is a connecting location, put it into play and move to it. Do not take damage from the above forced ability when moving. So it's the same thing, but it's damage instead of...
Yeah, they're like mirrors of each other, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the Nexus of NK where you're exploring out to other world locations, and now you've got the pocket in time where you're exploring out to these shattered locations throughout time and space. So shall I flip the act then?
Yeah, go for it.
Because like we say, it's probably going to follow quite quickly after it going into the explore deck.
Yeah.
And it's literally just arriving there will trigger it.
Yes.
So the Act 2B is Gateways to Other Times. What you see before you is truly staggering. Throughout these halls are hundreds of windows into places both ancient and futuristic, once grand civilizations that came before even the earliest records of known history, and more still that have yet to be realized. The psychological weight of this discovery is almost more than your mind can bear. Humans are not the masters or caretakers of the earth. They are merely a footnote in a much longer history, a history which is about to be revised. Just a little side note there. It talks about it being difficult to comprehend and psychological weight. You'd think this would be the one where you took horror, wouldn't you then, rather than physical? And the other one probably would be physical because you're going to other world locations. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. It
doesn't quite sit right there. Yeah, never mind. Shuffle the set-aside shattered locations into the exploration deck, and each investigator shuffles the topmost hex treachery from the encounter discard pile into the exploration deck. and then we check the campaign log. If the relic is missing, attach the relic of Age's Unleash the Time Stream version to a pocket in time under no investigator's control. And then either way, we advance to Act 3A, the Yuthian relic.
Yep.
Strange the way that they've split that up. They both end up in Advance to Act 3A. Why doesn't it just say, if the relic is missing, attach it to the pocket in time?
Yeah, it seems unnecessary. Yeah, it's a bit redundant, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's the Act 2 progress, which reveals Act 3A, the Yuthian relic. If you intend to mend the shattered timelines, you will need to find the Relic of Ages and learn to harness its power. So as an action, you can search your deck or discard pile for the relic and add it to your hand, then shuffle the deck. And then as another action, if it is attached to your location and there are no clues on that location, you can take control of the relic. So the objective is to control the relic and then you advance. If we lost the relic and the Brotherhood had control of it or whatever, it would be there at the pocket in time.
Correct.
Otherwise, we've got it stashed away in our deck somewhere.
Yeah, so again, if you've already got the relic, it's really fast.
But yes, it's an action, isn't it? That's searching your entire deck or discard pile. It's not like just checking your top few cards. You will find it with a single action and advance. Exactly. Otherwise, if the Brotherhood have got it, you're at a 5-shroud location with 1 clue per investigator and you've got to get them all. So that could potentially be a challenge depending on your investigators.
Yes, exactly. But again, most of the time it's going to move pretty fast through these as well. In the middle of all this, Agenda 1A will probably have advanced or be close to. So shall I read that out and then we can move forward with the act? So the Threads of Time one, it's just the 6 doom, and then it flips to the spawn of Nkai. You were not the first to intrude in this abyssal pit. You were warned not to break the seal, and yet here you are. Now you face the consequences of your foolish transgression. The thing emerges from the lightless void beyond the nexus. It is being of black polymorphic ichor, an animated viscous ooze that crawls along the ground with shapeless limbs and leaves a trail of smooth, dissolved stone in its wake. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck and spawn the set-aside formless spawn in the nexus of Nkai. Place this card in the victory display. It gains Vengeance 1. So the spawnless form, which is in the story The Mound, it's basically a big nasty black ooze. It's only 2 fight and 2 evade, but it has 10 health. So it's monster, abomination, and elite. It spawns at the nexus of Nkai, which you may or may not be at. It's massive, and formless spawn cannot move or be moved. Formless spawn gets +1 fight and +1 evade for each doom on each card at the Nexus of Nkai, including the Nexus of Nkai. So it's a victory too, but it's easily evaded. It'll give a fighter something to do. They're kind of at a loose end in a multiplayer, I suppose. And it has a quote under it. They found living things that oozed along the stone channels and worshipped onyx and basalt images of Zathogua. H.P. Lovecraft, The Mound. It does a lot of damage, though. It hits like a truck. 3 damage, 3 mental health. It is victory too, but it's fairly easy to evade and avoid if you really want to. I
guess he's there basically to slow you down, because if at this point you still haven't found the pocket in time, you're now stuck at that location with him.
Yeah.
And he'll be engaged with you. Even though, he's massive, isn't he? He'll be engaged with everybody that's there.
Correct.
And we're basically making it difficult for you to actually do that final explore until you've dealt with him in one way or another.
Yeah, gumming up the works, if you like.
Quite literally, yes.
Yes, exactly. That moves into Agenda 2A, which is Pendulous Threads. Inside the Nexus, the interwoven threads of ethereal light begin to unravel, and reality unravels with it. And that's not done in just a single sentence. It's sort of written out in the sort of idea that things are unraveling. 7 Doom here, threshold, so, plenty of time, but forced if an investigator with the Relic of Ages in his or her hand, deck, discard pile or play area is eliminated, advance to Agenda 3B. So we're on Agenda 2A. Now the fun really starts.
Yes. So shall we start looking at some of these shattered locations now, because we'll be at the pocket in time and we'll be exploring from there. And there's 5 locations in the deck now. First one I have then is Nakotas. It's a 2-shroud, 3 fixed clues. Shattered and Ancient. As an action, if there are at least 3 tablet tokens in the Chaos bag or sealed on cards in play, discover all the clues on Nakotas and draw that many cards. Group limit once per game. So that is obviously linked to the Brotherhood, because that's why you would have that many tokens in the Chaos bag in the first place.
Yes, and that means, because we went to Nakotas, right? We were a Yithian. In fact, we might still be a Yithian. So I suppose it's the idea that we know this place. There's nothing on, this place we'd be like, we're back home, Nakotas. So you know what I mean? That's why it's sort of like, yeah, we know this place. So it's an easy place to kind of go to under those circumstances. Yeah.
And the reasons the tablets would be in the bag would be back in the first scenario we fought with Ichtaka.
Yep.
If we decided to give the relic to Alejandro rather than giving it to Harlan, we get a tablet there. The third one, after the City of Archives.
Yep.
If we'd rescued Alejandro and we were controlling the Custodian, we would get a third tablet at that point.
Yeah.
So that's the point where we truly have been working on Alejandro's side of the story.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, 3 tokens would be in the bag, and that's an instant 3 clues, 3 cards, which is very nice.
Yeah. It's awesome how it brings it all together like that. That's really nice. That's awesome. Well, on the flip side, Velusia, which is the opposition faction, it's a 4 shroud, just straight, lots of just straight clues here, 2 clues. It's Shattered and Ancient. I keep thinking of the KLF when I hear that, Shattered and Ancient. The action is, if there are at least 3 cultist tokens in the Chaos bag or sealed on cards in play, heal 2 damage and 2 horror, set Velusia's Shroud to 0 for the remainder of the game. Group limit once per game, victory 1. So,
and again, same logic. So if we've been siding with Ichtaka throughout, so that would be if we'd parleyed with her instead of fighting her at the beginning. If we listened to her tale, we get a cultist token there. And then if we've forged a bond with her and she has confidence with us, then we get an extra cultist token there. So again, like you say, they're like mirrors of each other, aren't they? If we're fully on one side or fully on the other, we get a bonus at these 2 locations.
Okay, I'll do Ruins of New York. Looks very post-apocalyptic. 1 shroud.
Doesn't it?
3 clues. Wow, for 1 shroud. This one says Shattered Future Ruins, so not ancient, but future. So, some things of the past, this is the future. Forced, after Ruins of New York enters play, put the top card of the lead investigator's deck into play at this location face down. 2 cards if there are 3 or 4 investigators in the game. Treat each of those cards as flying polyp enemies with 2 fight, 2 health, 2 evade, 1 damage, and the monster trait. I'm assuming from this means New York got attacked by flying polyps. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, the next one. I suppose I'll carry on your KLF theme. The next one is Moo. That'll mean something to a small portion of our audience. 1 shroud and 4 clues. So another easy location. It's Shattered and Ancient, obviously. While you're at Moo, the first Skull, Cultist, Tablet, or Elder Thing token you reveal during each skill test gains reveal another token. And then we have a quote from Out of Eons. Still at last on a hideous day of storm and thunder, terrific rambling and mountain-high waves, all the land of Moo sank into the sea forever.
Very Atlantis-like, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, the next one's called Atlantis. So clearly not. This one is 3 shroud, 2 clues here. Again, Shattered and Ancient. Forced, after an autofell symbol is revealed during a skill test at any location, place 1 Doom on Atlantis. Then if there are 3 or more Doom on Atlantis, remove it from the game. Each enemy and investigator that was at Atlantis is defeated. That's nice. That's nice.
I love how they've done that. I don't think we actually came across that one in our game, did we?
No, we didn't. So you happen to be there when the Atlantis goes under. Yeah, that's it.
Given how our game went when we did War of the Outer Worlds, we have never seen so many tentacle tokens as we pulled in that game.
Yeah,
ridiculous. So yes, if it was transposed to this, we would have been sinking with Atlantis. So the final one is Plateau of Leng, 3 shroud, 1 clue. And this one's present day.
Mm-hmm.
Forced, if you reveal an Elder Thing symbol during the skill test at Plateau of Leng, take a horror. And a quote from The Mountains of Madness. The conviction grew upon us that this hideous upland must indeed be the fabled nightmare Plateau of Leng, which even the mad author of the Necronomicon was reluctant to discuss.
Yes. Brilliant. So it's a little bit of a taster of a whole lot of Lovecraftian lore, which is very nice. Yeah, so those would be going out, but at the same time, we'd be, I guess, Act 3A would be flipping fairly, I think, quickly. Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So it says, the relic is the key. Act 3B. In your hands, you hold the key to fixing all of this. It hums and vibrates with immense power that seems to grow and flourish as you visit other timelines. For the remainder of the scenario, if the Relic of Ages leaves play for any reason, shuffle each location attached to it into the exploration deck and reset the Act deck to Act 3A. Okay. Clearly, in playtesting, there was a few things they had to kind of just manage like that. So anyway, so check the campaign log. If Ichtaka is set against you, the thing that was once your companion slithers out of the darkness hissing, Yig will have its way. Velusia will be returned to us. Spawn the set-aside Ichtaka, Skyan of Yig at the Nexus of Nkai. So, yeah, this is not the Ichtaka we've known. This is Ichtaka looking like a serpent. Now is humanoid monster serpent and elite. 4 fight, 6 health per investigator, 4 foot, hunter and retaliate. So not a pushover, but has a victory 2, has a parley effect. Test 5 book to plead for your life. If a cultist symbol is revealed during this test, you automatically succeed. There we go again. If you fail, Ichtaka attacks you. If you succeed, flip this card over and resolve its text. So you have an opportunity here. So Ichtaka will come after you. And you can parley with her. And if you do, you can resolve the text. Shall I read the text on the other side? Check the campaign log. If there are 16 or more tally marks under Yig's fury, Ichtaka refuses and flip it back over. So if Yig's too angry with you, then the parley fails, basically. If there are 15 or fewer tally marks, Ichtaka ceases her assault and listens to your words. Velusia must be returned to glory. There is no other way, she decrees with bitter certainty. Help us to achieve this goal and you can join with us. Yig will remake you in his image and we shall live together in our timeless paradise of Velusia. The investigators must decide either, I could never turn my back on humanity. Flip this card back over, exhausted and unengaged. For the remainder of the scenario, you cannot parley with Ichtaka. So basically, you've gone, nah, humans are more important than living my life as a serpent person. Or you say, yep, I accept, remove this card and Act 4A Mend the Shatter from the game and advance to the set-aside Act 4A Paradise Lost. For the remainder of the scenario, you cannot parley with Alejandro Vela and serpent enemies do not engage or attack you. So you've basically decided that you are going to side with Ichtaka and the serpent people and Yig under those circumstances.
So if Alejandro is set against you, fools, are you blind? Alejandro motions to the worlds before him. Your kind stands no chance against the ravagers of time, so then we spawn the set-aside Alejandro, or is he, in a pocket in time. So looking at Alejandro, so it's very similar to Ichtaka. He is 6 fight, 4 health per investigator, 3 evade. Humanoid cultist and elite, is alert and hunter. And he also has a parley action, so test intellect of 5 to plead for your life. If a tablet symbol is revealed during this test, you automatically succeed. If you fail, Alejandro Vela attacks you. If you succeed, flip the card over and resolve its text. So in a similar way, the reverse side is a story card. Another way, Alejandro, if it is really him beneath that guise of humanity, contemplates your words. Very well. We will spare you, but only if you assist the Brotherhood. He motions to the gateways all around you. Your kind was not the first to inherit the earth. You know this, now, from your travels. We tried to get you to understand, but in your stubbornness you would not listen. Hear me now. The creatures that drove us to ruin will return. They will wipe humanity off this planet, and the only evidence of your existence will live on in Nakotas. But together we can stop them. Join us, and you may yet save the Earth and yourselves. The investigators must decide. Choose one. I could never turn my back on humanity. Flip this card back over, exhausted and unengaged, and for the remainder of the scenario you can't parley with him again. Or you accept, remove this card and Act 4A mend the shatter, and this time we put in Act 4A time lock. For the remainder of the scenario you cannot parley with its attacker, and cultist enemies do not engage or attack you. So they're sort of mirrors of each other, really, aren't they?
They are. So you kind of, now you could end up with both of them spawning. There are some situations where H-Tacker is set against you and Alejandro is set against you. Maybe rare, maybe one or the other, but it is possible that you've got both of them set against you and they both spawn, or one or the other spawns. So
yeah. But they've gone to great lengths there that if they are both spawned, once you parley with one, if you decide to side with them, that's it, you rule the other one out. Exactly. So it's there's literally 3 choices of Act 4 at this point, isn't there? There's the default one, which is Mend the Shatter, correct, or you get the Ichitaka or Alejandro specific versions, depending on whether you've parlayed with them or not.
Yes, exactly. And they are very similar, just with slightly different objectives. The other thing interesting about Alejandro, they're saying, or is he? Because if you've rescued him, he's got himself back. But he also, you might not have, so he's still he's a Yithian, right? But that's even if he's not a Yithian anymore, I guess he's been part of the Yithian culture for so long and the Brotherhood for so long that he's just connected. He's sort of wedded to that approach.
No, he's only against you if you haven't got his mind back.
Ah, right.
So it's in Interlude 4. If we rescued him and we controlled the custodian by the end of the scenario, then Alejandro gets his mind back. Otherwise, he's set against us at that point. So it's only if he's still a Yithian is he against us.
Okay, I see. So he must be a Yithian then. Gotcha. Yep, that makes sense. Okay, awesome. Great. Wow. It's all coming together.
I love how it's all interwoven and it all links back to all of your previous decisions.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Very well done. Very well done from that perspective. It's great.
So do you want to take one of the Act 4As then? Do you want to take the default one, the Mend the Shatter?
Yeah, so I'll read out the front part, which is the same as the others, and then the objectives. So here we have Mend the Shatter. Each window you step through seems to empower the relic. Once the artifact is fully powered, you can use it to mend the shattered timelines and prevent catastrophe. Action. If you are at the shattered location with no clues, test willpower or book of 3. If you succeed, attach your location face down to the Relic of Ages. Each investigator and enemy at that location is moved to a pocket in time. And the objective with Mend the Shatter is if the number of locations attached to the Relic of Ages is equal to 1 plus the number of investigators who started the game, advance. So you're basically trying to hoover up as many of these shattered locations as you can. And if you can get them, then you can advance.
So shall we just take the 3 fronts then? And look at the different objectives. The Paradise Lost. So that's the Ichitaka one.
That's the Velusia one, yeah.
So again, like you say, it's the same main front, but the objective is if Velusia is attached to the Relic of Ages, advance.
Yeah.
So the Mend the Shatter, you've got to mend a whole number of locations. Yeah. Whereas if you're siding with Ichitaka, and as we'll see, the same with Alejandro, you only have to do one location, one specific location.
Yes, exactly. Like you say, Time Lock, which is the other one, is exactly the same, except it's Nakotis that you've got to attach to the Relic of Ages.
So in some ways, it's like my game of Baldur's Gate. I can take the easy option. I only have to do one if I go that way, and I'll still get the end of game scenario.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of brings us to the resolution points on those. As you're doing that, probably Agenda 2 will move forward. That was the pendulous threads. Shall I read that one out?
Yeah, sure.
The Nexus falters. This is Agenda 2B. The electrical currents coursing through the machinery of the Nexus begin to malfunction, sending a shower of sparks into the air. The portal ring overheats. Threads of ethereal light within the portal begin to snap. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. If Formless Spawn is in play, place Doom on the Nexus of Vankai. If Formless Spawn is in the victory display, shuffle it into the encounter deck. Place this card in the victory display. It gains Vengeance 1. And then we have the final agenda, which is 12 dooms. So it's pretty generous actually with the time, isn't it? It's not exactly forcing us along. Did you want to read this one out, Kevling? This one's
sure.
This one's a good one.
Yeah, snapped threads. Oh, I know why you wanted me to read this one now. Well, I'll start it off. Time, shattered, of, purgatory, endless, awful. And then as you read, you realise it's just written in reverse. So I'll read it from the end. The flow of time continues to alter. You remember things that have not yet occurred, but you cannot recall how you got here. Your actions play out in order, in reverse, and everything in between. Each time you blink, the continuity has changed. Moments from your past, present, and future play out on repeat, but they are different, false, terrifying. Everything you know is lost forever in this awful, endless purgatory of shattered time. Brilliant.
Very nice.
And then as a forced effect, forced, if an investigator with the relic is eliminated, so same as all the others, we go straight to 3B.
Yeah. Yes. So there we go. So madly running around trying to fix the timelines of things, trying to kind of stop the threads of time totally unraveling.
Yeah, so we're at the pocket in time. We're using the relic to fix those shattered timelines.
Yep.
And then as we fix them, those timelines then get attached back to the pocket in time, and we are back there to then go and do another one and another one and another one. Or just one if we've got the Alejandro or Ichitaka option available to us.
Yes, exactly. So very nice, set of things to do, guides you through what you need to do, and it's great from that perspective. Yeah, it's good.
I'm wondering whether it makes sense to look at the Ichitaka and Alejandro resolutions first.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
They're a little more straightforward, aren't they? So you want to take one of those? Yeah,
so if you do the Paradise Lost, which is you've decided to parley with Ichitaka, and so you've got to find Volusia, and you find Volusia, then you get Glory to Volusia. Ichitaka observes you with narrow yellow eyes as you manipulate the thrumming device in your hands. Power seeps from the device's every aperture. Rays of blinding light shoot forth from the cracks appearing on its surface. You watch as the boundary between timelines begins to mend and the window closes, trapping you within the time and place you have chosen. Once the deed is done, the light fades from the artifact, its humming ceases, and it never sounds again. A beautiful yellow sun rises over a lush kingdom of Volusia, and you wonder what to make of your new life. Resolution 2. So Resolution 2 says, transposed to a different time, Volusia and the children of Yig live on, preserved by the new timeline you have created. You and the Serpent People are safe from the events that caused their homeland's destruction long ago in another time. All of your past transgressions against serpent kind are forgiven, and you are given a chance to live in this paradise kingdom of Volusia remade in Yig's image. Although you may have turned your back on humanity, you take comfort in the fact that the earth has been saved from complete ruin. Due to your actions, you are valued and respected amongst the serpents and in the eyes of your new father. Your new life is cozy and full of wonders you could never have predicted, and yet from time to time you look out into the wilds beyond Volusia and wonder if there is something else you could have done... In your campaign log, record that the investigators saved the civilization of the serpents. The Earth is saved and the investigators win the campaign. Yay! But the investigators have reshaped the world, existing in another time altogether. These investigators cannot be transferred to a different campaign. You must start afresh.
And then if we do the equivalent but for Alejandro... His objective, that flipped Act 4B, is survival of Nakotas. Alejandro studies your every move as you manipulate the thrumming device in your hands. I think the rest of the text is pretty much the same. Come, my friend, Alejandro says stoically, motioning towards the tallest basalt tower at the City of Endless Archives. Now our work can truly begin. So Resolution 3, transposed to a different time, Nakotas and the great race of Yith live on, preserved by the new timeline you've created. You and the Yithians are safe from the extraterrestrials who ended their kind long ago in another time. You are brought into the city and given freedoms other captive minds never received. Although at first you long for your former life, the emotion fades the more time you spend in this strange new earth. You roam the world on Titan airships and delve into the collective knowledge of the Yithians accumulated in their vast archives from centuries of research. Your studies unveil secrets that no other human will ever know. You experience technological advances that humanity would weep to discover, and you prepare for an accursed future that may still yet come to pass. So in your campaign log, record that we saved the civilization of the Eons, but it's the same outcome as the other one. Earth is saved, we win the campaign, but we've reshaped the world, existing in another time altogether, and we cannot be transferred to another campaign, must start afresh.
Yes, there we go. And then the Mend the Shatter. This one is, it is done. You manipulate the thrumming device in your hands. Same thing with the skill and knowledge of one of the relic's ingenious inventors. It is as though your mind has suddenly become flooded with the knowledge of the ancients that came before you. Power seep from the device's every aperture. Rays of blinding light shoot forth from cracks appearing on its surface. You only have a chance to restore these shattered realities. You only have one chance to restore these shattered realities. Only one chance to make things right. If Relic of Ages Repossess the Past is the version that they have, then you go to R5. If it's any other version of the Relic of Ages, you go to R1. So there are two different resolutions here. So I'll go to R1, and then maybe you can do R5, Kevin.
Yeah, sure.
So R1 gives us a diary entry. Thursday, December 17th, 1925. Which is sort of after the doom of Etzley, sort of a couple of months later, I think, something like that. It has been difficult for me to convey my unabridged thoughts on the events that occurred during the summer of 1925. Of course, I gave my full account to Harlan, who I suspect is the only person willing to vouch for my story, but I have not sat down to record it on paper until now. Perhaps I would rather these events had been a figment of my imagination. In truth, I have no idea how we made it out of the caverns beneath the jungle alive. Simply reaching the abyssal place was a hellish ordeal. My memory of our return trip is muddled and disarrayed. We scrambled in the dark for what seemed like ages. We were out of food, out of supplies, out of hope, but somehow we found a way out. Our reward for preventing calamity was scorn and ridicule. No upstanding paper or university would publish our findings, and of course we possessed no proof of our expedition save from our scars and nightmares. I wish I could say that my memory of these events has faded with each passing day, but I will never forget the alien city we explored in our conical bodies, the serpents that pursued us in red-lit Yoth, the formless abomination that lived in the depths of the earth. Perhaps that is why I fear making a written account of our findings, because these memories will crystallize and become etched in my mind, forever damning me to a life of terror and dismay. Still, the world needs to know what we saw, what we did. In your campaign log, record that the investigators mended the tear in the fabric of time. Each investigator suffers 2 physical trauma and 2 mental trauma, as he or she never recovers from the expedition into Nikai. Each location attached to the Relic of Ages with Victory X is added to the Victory display. Each investigator earns experience equal to the Victory X value of each card in the Victory display, and each investigator earns 5 bonus experience as he or she has mended the shattered timeline and saved the Earth from catastrophe. The investigators win the campaign. There we go. We managed to get out.
Yes. So the other option was if we had the Relic of Ages Repossess the Past version, and the only way we would have that is if we were forging our own path, which means we gave the relic to Harlan back in scenario 3, and we didn't listen to Ichtaka, so we didn't listen to her story. So at that point, we are forging our own path. So as long as we were forging our own path and we recovered the relic in subsequent scenarios, then we have this particular version of the relic. So I guess it's maybe some sort of purer version of the relic that's not been tainted with one side or other's objectives. I don't know, something like that.
Yes.
So then we move to Resolution 5, which I think is pretty unique, isn't it, in terms of resolutions. All of this was set into motion when the Etzley ruins were first intruded upon. Ichtaka's original warning was her last vestige of humanity speaking to you. She wanted you and the other explorers to turn back, but curiosity and greed got the better of you. Until that day, balance had been kept. Alejandro sought the relic for his own devices. Ichtaka heard the call of her master and obeyed. However, humanity is the true cause of this chaos. You know what you must do. You know now how you can save everyone. In your campaign log, record that the investigators turned back time. Each location attached to the relic with Victory X is added to the Victory display. We all earn that XP, and we proceed to Epilogue. So, read the following only if we turned back time, I'm resisting the urge to quote songs. There is only one way to stop all of this from ever happening. Before you arrived and set all of these events into motion, the Etzli ruins were asleep, and the relic was relatively safe in its prison of obscurity. Had it not been for Alejandro's desire to find it, it might have remained undiscovered for centuries. With your new understanding of the relic's capabilities, you can return to the past and set things right. You can seal it away forever and prevent your past selves from having ever found it, even if it costs you your own life. Proceed to Scenario 9, Turn Back Time. Secret Scenario 9, it's titled.
Wow.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and essentially this is the Doom of Etzli redone, right?
Yes, I think it is.
Even the text is the same, except because you've gone back in time to make things right? Which is to do all this again. So it's basically that. The difference is, of course, that there's a different set of acts. The agendas are the same, but the acts are different for this one. I think it comes down to fighting Yig down in the Doom of Etzli, the Etzli ruins.
Shall we look at that scenario now, or?
Well, I don't know that we need to go through it again. I mean, essentially, it's the same as before, right? It's the same scenario. What the acts do is draw attention to the fact that you kind of know that you're there. I think that's the main difference, right?
Yeah. Shall we just go through the text anyway? Yeah.
Yeah.
The introduction of Turn Back Time. Again, it's back to the original decision. Will we be forced to wait for supplies? Read Intro 1, or if we cleared a path, Intro 2. So Intro 1, you stand in front of the main temple of the Etzli, sweat pouring down your skin due to the hot, damp jungle air. Stunned, you examine your surroundings. Jose and Maria stand next to you, gaping in wonder at the temple's sophisticated architecture. Their packs are bulging with the extra supplies you were able to acquire from Alejandro's contacts in Mexico City. Alejandro himself stands at the rear of the group, grinning. Your consciousness has been snapped so far back that your mind aches from the force of it. Your body shudders and you struggle to resist collapsing out of exhaustion. Though you have altered fate, your true task still remains ahead of you. As the rest of the expedition sets up camp and prepares to explore the ruins, you sneak off to fulfill your purpose, leaving Alejandro and the rest of your group behind. They wouldn't understand. They haven't seen what you have seen. So in your campaign log, cross off all the entries after the first 3. They've all been undone by your actions. So it's almost like a reset, isn't it? Back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you want to take Intro 2?
Yeah, Intro 2. You stand near the main temple of the Etzli, sweat pouring down your skin due to the hot, damp jungle air. Stunned, you examine your surroundings. Several tents are set up in the clearing in front of the temple. Jose stands guard along the border of your camp, and you can see Maria packing equipment and provisions into her backpack, getting ready for her journey to the northern edge of the jungle, as you had instructed. Alejandro sits in a log in the center of the camp, decrypting the inscription he found near the temple's entryway. Your consciousness has been snapped so far back that your mind aches from the force of it. Your body shudders, and you struggle to resist collapsing out of exhaustion. Though you have altered fate, your true task still remains ahead of you. As the rest of the expedition prepares to explore the ruins, you sneak off to fulfill your purpose, leaving Alejandro and the rest of the group behind. They wouldn't understand. They haven't seen what you have seen. So essentially, you're going to go into the temple and you're going to do what you have to do. You know what you have to do, and you're going to get it done before they even have a chance, kind of thing.
So we use the 3 new act cards instead of the original 3.
Yep.
So Act 1A, into the ruins once again. Despite everything that has occurred since you were last here, the Etzli Temple remains the same as it was when you first explored it, preserved in an echo of time. You use your memories to guide you heading deeper into the ruins once more. So as an action, we can explore, as usual. 3 clues per investigator. When we advance, we shuffle the Chamber of Time into the exploration deck. Then do you want to take Act 2A?
Yeah, so the chamber still remains. In the center of the chamber, deep within the core ruins, the relic awaits, so you can again explore. Only investigators in the Chamber of Time can spend the requisite number of clues to advance. Reversal, I think, yeah, so the relic hums with power, throbs in your hands, energy from the device seeps into the corridors of the ruins, and the structure of the temple shifts. However, this does not matter to you. Escaping with the relic is no longer your goal. You skillfully work the hidden components of the device once more, manipulating the very fabric of time in the environment around you, determined to stop all of this from having ever occurred. You turn the clock back once more. So you're not doing what you did last time. You know what you're doing with it. Choose an investigator in the Chamber of Time to take control of the Relic of Ages. Search the collection for Yig and spawn it in the Chamber of Time. So Yig appears in the Chamber of Time. And then we move to Act 3.
Moment of Doom. You stand in the centre of the Relic's vault, surrounded on all sides by slain Etzli warriors. The Father of Serpent stands before you, his hiss shaking you to your bones. This is where the Etzli made their last stand. Now only you stand in the creature's way. The Relic of Ages gains action. Test willpower or intellect of 4. If you succeed, flip a clue controlled by an investigator at your location to its doom side, place it on your location, and deal 3 damage to Yig. Objective: if Yig is defeated, advance.
So that's sort of reflecting the idea that you know what you're doing. You've got more chance of defeating Yig.
Yes. So, and then when you flip, Yig's fall, the creature roars in pain. His tail thrashes violently, crushing several pillars and sending you flying to the ground. He retreats with a hateful rumbling hiss. You turn your attention back to the relic and the chamber that was built to preserve it. It is time to end this once and for all. It is time to do what must be done.
Yes, and that's R1. Yeah, so Resolution 1 is another December 1925, so this is another alternative. No one else has ever... These are so Lovecraftian too, these ones, aren't they? No one else has ever learned of the events that truly occurred during the summer of 1925, and no one ever will, for I intend to keep this journal locked in my safe deposit box once I have finished writing in it. I seek only to preserve my own record of these events, for I do not wish the passage of time to erase them completely. After all, these are not my memories, but the memories of my other self, the self who ventured through time and space to save humanity. It is difficult to explain how we did what we did. After all that happened, Ichtaka, Alejandro, the city of Ythians, Yoth, it turns out the true doom of humanity had occurred much, much earlier. When we first left to find the Etzli, we brought all of these events upon ourselves. In order to prevent this calamity, we had to seal the relic away forever. I remember these events as though I myself had experienced them though for me the expedition had gone much differently. We reached the centre chamber of the Etzli ruins, but it was sealed shut. Nothing, not even TNT that Jose had brought from the trucks, could breach the entrance. Although we returned to Icon with proof that the Etzli existed, no other expedition would ever find them or their ruins again. My other self perished in those ruins, but somehow I remember everything. So, in your campaign log, record that the investigator sealed the Relic of Ages forever. Each investigator earns experience equal to the victory X value of each card in the victory display, and the investigators win the campaign. So, in other words, in that one, we've gone back in time and we've essentially blown up we've sealed the chamber for good and never to be opened again.
I think that's the only successful resolution to this campaign without a negative attached to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you got the R1 on the original, you had to take trauma as a result because of what you had suffered, whereas this has no negatives associated to it other than you've got those memories.
Yes, exactly.
Other self that's having been through all of that.
And of course, there's a no resolution one where you don't manage to do that.
Of course, yeah. Shall I take that one?
Yes.
With your failure, the paradox of clashing timelines catches up to you. Despite all you have done, the events of the future cannot be unmade. You will always find the relic. You will always fail to preserve it, and the Nexus will always falter. Reality as you know it will never be the same, but perhaps this is not the end of the world. After all, time is just one dimension, a dimension humanity barely understands. We experience time, but we cannot see it. We can measure it, but we cannot alter it. So what if the fourth dimension is split into hundreds of thousands of planes of existence? Our feeble human minds cannot comprehend the outcome, but the universe still survives. Its ever-expanding boundaries no longer limited by the confines of time. In your campaign log, record that the fabric of time is unwoven. Each investigator is driven insane, and the investigators lose the campaign. So it's almost like that's the ultimate win and the ultimate lose on that scenario, isn't it?
Yes. and of course there's the R4 from the agenda, which is the other
we forgot that one,
ultimate
yes.
lose, which is the other one, which is I think this is the one we got, I think. Reality as you know it will never be the same, but perhaps this is not the end of the world. After all, time is just one dimension, a dimension humanity barely understands. We experience time, but we cannot see it. We can measure it, but we can't alter it. So what if the fourth dimension has split into hundreds of thousands of planes of existence? Our feeble human minds cannot comprehend the outcome, but the universe still survives, its ever-expanding boundaries no longer limited by the confines of time. Again, the fabric of time is unwoven. Each investigator is driven insane, and we lose the campaign. So it's a similar effect, really.
I think it's exactly the same, actually.
There we go.
So,
yeah. So there we have it.
Amazing.
End of the campaign, perhaps the end of time. So
what are your thoughts on that one then?
Well, so so it's very multi-layered, because I think these very end campaigns are always difficult to pull off, because they become very kind of conceptual, and they're always kind of like epic in scale, massive time and space, and you're lost in time and space, or time and space is unraveling, or you're fighting some elder thing in the middle of the universe or some other thing. So they become very kind of disconnected and so from that perspective, in the scenario itself, it can seem a little bit like you're being told you're doing these kind of amazing things, but how you're actually managing to do them is, you know what I mean? It's sort of all a bit. But the thing about this one that I really like, and I think you alluded to it, is it really ties up a whole lot of loose ends in a really satisfying way. But the other thing is it's just epic in its scope, because what it's sort of saying is that even if, for example, we side with Ichtaca, we end up in Valusia, that time will then play out again, and we will end up going to the Etzli ruins and to the Doom of Etzli. So there's this kind of circularity of time that is unbroken, that we do again, you know what I mean? And the only way to get out of that on any one dimension is to find the special resolution that closes it down for good. Otherwise, it's just the fate that it will happen all again, ultimately, you know what I mean? And so they'll go round and round and round over and over again, which is quite amazing when you think about it. So
I just, like you say, I love the way it's all interwoven, or the way all of your previous decisions all have differing impacts, and even down to having those different Act 4s available to you depending on how you've played the story so far, and they all play out narratively completely differently, even if functionally they're still the same effectively. But absolutely fantastic. It's
a really awesomely epic way to finish it. A very challenging campaign, but I think a very satisfying campaign if you can. And of course, a lot of people won't make it all the way to the end. So presumably, if you don't make it to the end, the Brotherhoods, Nakotas maybe, or Valusia win out, and time kind of resets itself, but it will always come back to the 20th century and going out again, you know what I mean? So if you fail, it means that time will just re-go again until such time as everybody everywhere gets the special one and stops it from happening over and over again. So it's really, really great stuff. Really, really like it. So from that perspective, it's really great. So awesome way to finish the campaign.
Definitely.
It's a pity that people don't like this campaign. I understand why, but it's a kind of a pity because it's such a great campaign. So
yes, because if you don't make it to this final scenario, you don't know what you're missing almost, do you? How all these different, all your decisions all could play out in all these different ways.
Yes.
How they've structured it. It's epic, like you say.
And if you don't do what we did, you could easily play it a number of times and get very different kinds of resolutions and outcomes. So But I don't think people do, because I think people are so put off by the difficulty in the earlier scenarios that they just kind of do it once and sort of don't come back to it, which is unfortunate. I think it was Nate said it sort of really is a magnum opus. This one, it's a really epic grand campaign from that perspective. I don't think they've done anything quite as epic as this one.
It's also quite nice for it not to finish up with fighting a big monster at the end. Actually, it was you having an objective of trying to piece together the fabric of time and fix reality. It was, nice change.
Yes, much more satisfying than, say, Lost in Time and Space, which was, you were lost in time and space, but that was a bit more like just follow the path and, kind of thing. This is a much, much, much better scenario from that perspective. So, yeah, really awesome, really fantastic.
Yeah.
So there we go. So what's the plans from here, Kevling? What are we going to cover next time?
I guess, shall we have a look at the Return to and how that changes things? And then I think the last few times as well, we've also done an investigator roundup as well of just looked at the investigators that came with that campaign. So I don't know whether we can do both of those in the same episode or we split it up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea if we do that. That'd be good.
And obviously, if there's anything anybody wants to see, you can always email us at ftextpodcast@gmail.com. And we're no longer on Twitter. We decided to abandon that cesspool. X. But we do have accounts on Instagram and Threads. So if you wanted to message us on there, we are ftextpodcast on both of those. But if you've got any feedback on what you thought of The Forgotten Age, were you as impressed by its scope as we were, or were you put off by the punishing side of it and the all of the trauma? Yeah, let us know what you think.
Yes, because what we'll do is after we've done the Return to, we'll have a final wrap-up episode with a special guest, and we'll read out people's thoughts and feedback. That would be really great if people could send us their what they think, and we'll announce who the special guest is next time, I guess. So I better get in contact with them and make sure that they're still okay to do it, because we had Nate last time from Lost in Time and Space. So yes, that will be the final one, I guess, for the year, and then we'll have wrapped up and we can start a new campaign in the new year, I guess, Kevling.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, no prizes for guessing what that will be, but anyway. That's awesome. So thank you very much for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe. We really appreciate it. And until next time, I'm CrabbyTerror8.
And I'm Kevling.
I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
So once more, thank you for listening. We're on all the major podcast platforms, so please subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. If you have any feedback for us, you can email us on ftextpodcast@gmail.com or message us on Instagram and Threads at ftextpodcast. So on behalf of CrabbyTerror8 and myself, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye!